I snowshoed about a kilometer to this old abandoned farm building and spotted where a fox had bedded. There was a wide open field before me, and the wind and sun were at my back. Whenever I can, I try to watch downwind, because that is usually where a fox or coyote will head as they respond to a call. This fox showed up within minutes, but I was unable to get a shot before it became alarmed and ran off. Normally, I would have been tracking his movements through the scope of my rifle and shot as soon as he stopped, but I could not do that and operate the camera at the same time. A minute later, another fox came in from my left. He was less than 20 yards away when he picked up my scent, but he made the mistake of stopping, and that gave me an opportunity to film this shot. I also had a coyote respond at this location about 15 minutes later, but I was unable to make the shot. A loop in the shape of a half clover leaf that is placed between the jaws of a fox or coyote tightens itself as you return with the animal. I usually don't hunt on days that are this windy. Foxes and coyotes don't respond as well as when it is calmer outside. But after a few days, with no break in the weather, I finally went AWOL hunting varmints. My face is a bit numb from the cold, so I'm having a bit of difficulty blowing the critter call. Here, an owl has flown in to investigate. It is common to have predatory birds, especially magpies, also respond to the call. I look about continually while I'm calling. I want to see the predator as early as I possibly can, and downwind is the most important area to watch. However, this coyote started in from upwind before making a big loop to my downwind side. I have noticed that foxes and coyotes may be more wary when something like this blowing wind and snow interferes with their senses. This coyote appears startled by something that has disturbed him from behind. The snow can be very thin where it has been blown off the tops of these small hills, but in places where it is more than a foot deep, it is very exhausting to walk without snowshoes. Even as I am retrieving the coyote, I continually look around. On a number of occasions, I have managed to bag a late arriving predator. I'm hunting with my wife today, and she is operating the camera for the very first time. On this occasion, we used an electronic call that I built many years ago so that we could work closely together. I placed the call about 30 yards from us so that any predators that responded would have their attention directed away from where we were sitting. Although this coyote looks quite big, most weigh in at about 25 pounds. In this area, a very large coyote would only be about 10 pounds heavier. It is not a good idea to sit behind anything that will interfere with your shooting. I am breaking off these twigs so that they will be below my line of sight. I often use a piece of rope that is twice as long as my outstretched arms. When tied into a loop, doubled, and placed around my knees, it gives me a remarkably steady rest for shooting. Whenever I can, I also try to stay out of direct sunlight. Here, the shadows from the trees help me to blend in with my surroundings. There are two coyotes here that are very interested in the sound of my critter call. Unfortunately, the first one won't stop and gets downwind before I can shoot. You can see it running off as I'm whistling and barking in an attempt to stop the second coyote before it also picks up my scent.
Yo, yo, yo.
Whenever possible, I like to have something to lean against. It helps me to stay comfortable for the 15 or 20 minutes that I'll be calling. You may notice that this time I'm calling with the wind in my face. That means my scent is blowing into an area that I cannot watch very well. However, I was only able to approach this area from one direction, and it looked too good not to be called. I soon had a coyote respond from out in front and a fox respond from my left side. Both of these animals came in from different directions, but both were headed downwind of my position. Because everything happened so quickly, I remained seated after the shot and kept calling. 10 minutes later, 2 other coyotes appeared. These coyotes held up as I watched them through the scope, but a little more coaxing convinced them that it would be worthwhile to check out a potential meal. The coyote you see here is farther away than the one you don't see. If I can, I like to shoot the farthest animal first, but unfortunately he got spooked and left. Now I concentrate on filming and shooting the one that remains. You can see the flight of the bullet in the slow motion view as it flies in from the left side of the screen. In order to keep my butt warm and dry when I sit in the snow, I have a closed cell foam pad sewn into the seat of my snowmobile suit. On this last stand of the day, it was necessary to use my electronic call because I could not get upwind of the area that I wanted to call, which is my preference. I set the electronic call about 80 yards straight upwind of my shooting position. This fox is hesitant to come in. You will notice that he looks to the left side of the screen before heading further to the right and downwind of me. I didn't know it at the time, but the fox had seen two coyotes that were out in front. When the fox got downwind and ran off, I turned around to see the two coyotes about 300 yards upwind. Unfortunately, all the movement I made trying to film the fox caused them to leave. This is one of the two coyotes the fox had seen out in front of me. Although it didn't seem to be aware that I was there, it was cautious enough to leave when it sensed something was amiss. However, one of the coyotes passed off to my side and headed downwind. As I followed it with the camera, I spotted this other fox also watching the coyote. When I pull away after shooting the fox, you can see the coyote running across the field in the distance. This particular evening was the end of a great day of calling. I saw 21 animals, and despite being by myself, I was able to film 2 foxes and 2 coyotes as I shot them. Without having to operate the camera, I know I would have bagged at least 1 more fox and 1 more coyote.